things coming in the game that I thought I would see, and some of those came through. And when those things we practiced on during the course of the week happened, we had success. When we didn't, we deviated from what we've been doing. We had failure. So I think our defense at times just kept ringing the bell, answering the call, and doing what they had to do. I thought they handled the tempo and tackled fairly well. Obviously, the last two scores just very, very hard to take. I think it was just a tidal wave of emotions going through them there. Frustration being at the forefront. Offensively, it never seemed like we really clicked all day. Had a game plan to come out and do some things, run the football inside, outside, whatever they were going to line and force us to do. I thought we just didn't connect in the passing game. Had a couple big screen plays and a couple bootlegs early, but in the second half in particular, we just didn't have the connections. Had some drop balls, had some guys that need to correct. So as coaches, at first I got to own obviously every minute of that film. As coaches, we really got to self-assess what we're asking our guys to do, especially in the second half offensively, and figure out what we can do better, because it obviously didn't work. So we got a bye week. We'll really take a self-inventory. I think the biggest thing is we got to be the most improved football team in the country from this next week till we play A&M. A team is very similar to what we just played, and get a lot better at the details, especially in critical moments. Kicking game will. We may either just go for it all the time, or I'll put another, your guy that, again, what you see in practice is what you can believe is going to happen. We had a kicker that was kicking over 95% all the way through fall camp in the first 2 weeks of the season, and to go out there and miss 2 chip shots, especially the second one. The reason I wanted to go for it was it was a line in the middle of the field. It was basically a PAT, and the doink hitting it with the perfect protection and perfect snap is unexcusable. So we definitely got to find the other option in that regards, because we're not going to go down that path again. So that one we'll move forward on. For that, injury-wise, I don't think we really had anybody of significance during the course of the game. A couple of those guys that were there in the defense and just got some guys that, but it wasn't anything significant. So there's nothing from an injury standpoint to be concerned about.
Questions? First one.
On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. This is brought to you each and every day by Lindsay & Associates, with locations in Fayetteville, also 2 locations in Rogers. This segment is also brought to you by Locomotion, located in Fayetteville, just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall. And if you don't get a chance to catch us here on the Hill on our live stream each and every day from 1 to 2, you can catch us on iHeartRadio, as we will podcast our top segment of the day each and every day. Of On the Hill on iHeartRadio. So go check us out if you don't want to hear, and you can get the best of the best each day. But we've opened up with head football coach Bret Bielema in his post-game press conference, following the TCU Arkansas ball game, which TCU won 28-7, and he talked about a lot of different things. Very disappointed in the kicking game, very disappointed on the offensive production from the football team on Saturday. A lot of changes have to be made in a short time for this football team to come back at 11 o'clock, as it has been announced yesterday by the SEC conference that Arkansas A&M will play in Dallas Cowboys AT&T Stadium, better known as Jerry's World, at 11 o'clock a week from this Saturday in the Southwest Classic. A game, I think, Demetrius, and I want to bring in my co-host and producer, Demetrius Johnson. Demetrius, I think this is a game with a lot of urgency for both Arkansas and Texas A&M. I know, with Kevin Sumlin really on the hot seat, Saturday kind of stirred up a little uncertainty for Arkansas's coach Bret Bielema. And I'm not going to say that right now he's on the hot seat, but I can kind of feel when I left the stadium a little apathy from the Razorback fan base starting to set in. So I would say this is a really important game, wouldn't you?
Definitely. I think this is a huge game, with both teams and both programs being in such a up and down type of status when you're talking about Kevin Sumlin and the Aggies, and here Arkansas with Bret Bielema. The programs were really expecting a turning point. You know, a lot of the fans were expecting Year 5 to start off with a lot of excitement. A lot of fans felt, hey, this is an 8 to 9 win, kind of season, and just from what I've got from the spectators' point of view this week, they just they don't see those 8 wins anymore. So it's really going to be critical to Bret Bielema to get these fans back on that bus. You need that fan base behind you, especially when you're in when you have such a young fan base and such a young team. These guys are going to be here for a while, and you don't want them to have a bad taste in their mouths with the way these fans can kind of attack the young men, when they don't perform right. But a lot of the blame is going towards the head coaches, so I will say that a lot of the fan base feels like it's the head coaches and not the young men, so that's definitely good.
I mean, I really feel like I'm going to stick with my 9 wins. I'm not going to back off that. I said that's what I believed, and, we're just 2 games in. Was it a great game offensively and special teams? No. Did Arkansas defensively play well enough to win? I would have to say so. But it's always in football. You have to win 3 phases, and if you can win 2 of the 3, you're normally going to come out on the the better side of the ball game each and every day, because it's a 4-quarter game. I thought if Arkansas, if you look back, the game was a lot closer to me than the score indicated, with the way Arkansas did play defense. It was, I think, 361 to 267 in total yardage. I thought Arkansas really didn't play up to standards in third down, as they were 4 for 14. TCU went 10 out of 14. And just think about it, I know a lot of the fan base is really upset, but think about if Cole Hedlund hits that field goal in the first, the beginning of the second quarter. It's 10-7. TCU comes down, scores. And then think about, Austin Cantrell gets that touchdown, Dimitri. That's a 14-14 ball game. Well, you have that, to go on top of the missed field goal. Then you turn around and miss another field goal. You could kind of sense, from our press box vantage point, you can kind of feel the energy being sucked out of the stadium. And I felt like, at some point the defense was going to get tired. They rolled a lot of bodies on that side of the ball. But this offense, to me, it all predicates on the offensive line. And this was a question that coming into the season, a lot of the national and local media had questions. And at some point, I think you have to, as an offensive lineman, Demetrius, you got to put a stake in the ground. And it comes to your competitive nature. When will it kick in? I play football, you play sports, and when you're challenged as an athlete, sometimes you just got to say, hey, enough is enough. Frank Ragnow talked about it in his post-game press conference, in that you got to stop talking about it, and we got to start doing it. Santos Ramirez echoed the same thing about let's talk more action. And I think this football team, under the leadership, because they got to have more leaders. You have your 4 captains, but it's going to take some, maybe some underclassmen like a Sosa Agim or someone is going to have to step it up and take a little bit more of the bull by the horns. I know there's got to be some more leadership coming from that offensive line. Frank Ragnow does a great job, but, will it be Yelta Froholt? A guy that has been much maligned, in his 2 years. I felt it would be a disrespect if I'm an offensive lineman, for my coach not to want to go for it on the 2 times you were inside the 20 or pretty much inside the 10 and came up with no points. You just got to, have some competitive nature kick in. But let's get this lineup straight. Next up, in our 115 segment, we're going to talk to Danny Jones of the Daily Columbian. We're going to talk about the South Carolina-Missouri, recap that ball game, and there was a change made on the defensive side of the football. We're going to talk about what went into, the departure of Deion Cross, why he was let go on Sunday post South Carolina. And then at 1:30, we're going to talk to Rebel Walks, Courtney Asher Smith. We're going to recap UT Martin, look ahead to their ball game versus Cal, and it's finally here. What so many are really interested to find out what's going to happen as Ole Miss goes before the NCAA committee on the infractions, and Hugh Freeze, he'll be one. We'll find out a little bit more about how Courtney thinks that's going to go. And then we're going to wrap it up and come back and talk a little bit more Hog Sprogs. We're going to recap it with Mascot Media's own Derek Oxford and talk to him about Coach B. Where does it sit, with the fan base? Is Coach B starting to feel a little bit more of the pressure? Those just be some things. And then should there be some changes in personnel, here in this off week to get this Hog team ready for their 11 o'clock kickoff in Dallas AT&T Stadium a week from Saturday. But we're going to step away, get a real quick break. Next up, it's the Colombians. Danny Jones. He's up next. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins. Back in a moment.
Receivers open, or it looked like you were just looking the whole time?
Yeah, they had some good coverages where, things weren't there. I got to find the check down, things like that. We'll be fine. We'll look at the film, we'll be fine. All the faith in the world in those guys. And we'll get better.
You guys didn't get your run game cranked up probably like you like. What do you think made the factor there?
Oh, they brought the safeties down. They added in guys. They kind of loaded up the box a little bit there. They were fast and physical, and I thought in the second half we kind of got things going, and we just got to finish, like I said.
Third down was a pretty key part of this game. What do you think happened?
Yeah, we got to be better on third down as an offense. We got to run good routes, got to put the ball in the right place. Third down is when one of those games on third down we didn't hit our goal. It wasn't close probably, and I'm sure we'll be working that all week.
Austin, I know you want to get points when you get in the red zone, but not being able to convert the 2 field goals, how frustrating is that for an offense?
It's a team sport. 2 field goals, the offense got to finish in the red zone. That's our job. If we get the ball in the 2-yard line, we got to finish. And Cole's had a heck of a fall camp. He's got to put that behind him and come out and ready to kick against Texas A&M. So, all of us have trusted him, and I think that won't happen again.
Was there any talk about going for that there? I mean, what was that discussion like, whether to go for it or go ahead and kick it?
I'm not sure. I wasn't on the headsets. Our play was open, just didn't execute it, and I'm not sure.
Austin, you had Austin going back across the back. Did you tell where he was? He was looking.
Yeah, I couldn't tell really. I just tried to put it on him because I couldn't tell, and the guy got a fingertip on it and about an inch out of bounds. And football's a game of inches, and it's kind of how you see it right there.